Hello.
Hey everybody, it's Robin again, and this is Alejandra. But we just made a cool little intro for the video, so you probably already know our names because I put it at the beginning of the video. So this is our third vlog. Hopefully you've seen the other two. If not, go and watch them. We're here. You probably can't see behind us. Every now and then it'll get lit up by the flash of lightning. But we've finally arrived in Altamira, which is the city which we've landed in.
The starting point of this whole journey that we're doing in the Amazon.
Yeah, and it's right on the edge. It's like near the edge of the Amazon basin and inside what would be called the Amazon. And behind us is the Xingu River, which is this big famous river around here, and it's a big part of why we've come to meet lots of the communities based there. And there's lots of lovely dogs like this one.
It's a shame you cannot see the river because it's very beautiful. We just came from a swim.
Yeah, our hair's wet because we came from a swim.
Oh my god.
But before we get on to what we did today, do you want to tell people what we were doing yesterday?
Yeah, so yesterday we went to the Federal University of Rio de Janeiro. We were invited by the communications department to just do a little talk about what is it that Extinction Rebellion does, what Extinction Rebellion Youth does, and basically what our work involves and why are we here. But it was really good, especially because there's a lot of young people, and before us there was a man talking about this youth network he set up and the power of youth, and that seems to be very much important and kind of promoted in here, quite a lot. The youth power is very much acknowledged.
Yeah, el poder de los jóvenes.
Yeah, Robin, this is talking Spanish.
Yeah, it's really difficult because hardly anyone spoke English. So I was very slowly doing it in English and having it translated, and every now and then trying in Spanish. And then Ali was doing the other half in Spanish, and I'm only learning, so I kind of didn't know what she'd said. And it's hard to do a presentation when you don't know what your partner's saying in the presentation because you don't want to repeat what they were saying. But it was great.
It went well.
It went really well. We went through lots of the things about how Extinction Rebellion formed and why Extinction Rebellion Youth formed as this space for young people to kind of organically grow what it meant to be in rebellion as young people. People asked us great questions about the differences between Extinction Rebellion Youth and Fridays for Future, for example, and we talked about that. We talked a lot about the work we do in the International Solidarity Network and why we're in this part of the world, and the understanding that where the world is at now is this crux point between the oncoming chaos that climate breakdown will bring and the rising fascism that the world is seeing, especially in the West, that is rising to meet because they know the chaos is coming. And they're getting ready to play their hand and be really strong. And the idea is that we need to come into this space and tell a different story, tell a new kind of politics, live in a different way. And a lot of that is obviously what Extinction Rebellion wants to bring with the direct action and different things.
I really enjoyed it. It was definitely both. I felt like I learned a lot as well during the talk by engaging with people and just having the chance to have these conversations. It felt more of a conversation rather than a simple talk, and see what other people think about what we do. There were questions about Extinction Rebellion's tactics of mass civil disobedience, and they're saying what do we think about it? In fact, that some countries is not the same, and that not for everyone is the same, which is questions that have come across as well in the UK, and it was interesting to see that as well. Here, it was also something they really picked up on.
Yeah, and one part of the talk we talked about this quote, which we use a lot in the International Solidarity Network. Can you remember it?
It's by Lila Watson, an Aboriginal Australian woman who fought for the rights of women and of Aboriginal peoples. And the quote is...
I'll put it on the screen in case.
If you have come here to help me...
Forget it.
Forget it. But if you have come here knowing that your liberation is bound up with mine, then let's work together.
And really using that as this understanding of where we base our solidarity, and that Ali gave the example of patriarchy, male supremacy, is something that historically is very much talked about as being obviously like violently bad for women, and that's true, and especially across the world, like it's a massive issue that like amazing campaigns are coming up to fight, but equally this understanding that in the oppression and dehumanization of women, then like especially internally, then men get very suppressed, and that's where toxic masculinity and you talked a little bit about.
For me, it's like I find it like annoying when men are like, oh, I'm gonna stop the like misogyny for you, only for you, because you need it. But it's like this understanding that it's not only important for me, but it's also important for men to do that as well for themselves. Like, obviously we're affected in completely different ways, but it also affects like men in terms of like not being able to express your feelings. The suicide rates in men is a lot higher than it is for women, and this sort of macho culture that exists, like, that it's not good for anyone, both men and women.
Yeah, big shout out to Savannah, who's part of XI Youth there. She sat me down a couple months ago and told me off for the way I was talking about fighting patriarchy, and that I needed to, as Ali says, involve myself in the conversation and really see where I was hurting as a result of that dehumanization that's part of our culture.
Not taking away that actually it's like a lot worse.
Yeah, it's just, it's a different, isn't it? It's not, and it is much worse, and that's the point. The oppression is always felt hardest on the oppressor, but it's interesting because you can talk about it in lots of places. Like, you know, one of the guys, Miguel, was talking about with Bolsonaro and this idea of the perfect Brazilian family that they get sold on. He was like, what is that? It seems like they're all dead inside and don't know how to have fun and these kind of things. And that understanding of how power is used in such a way within our society that it internally leaves so many scars. And Giacomo, who's part of XI Youth, talks about his friends who have gone into banking and other professions, and just seeing them as utterly different people to who they were before they went in, and how that moves through.
Yes.
But anyway, enough spitballing on all of that. What have we been up to today?
Basically, that was the main thing that we did yesterday. We got to meet lots of interesting young people who are working on a bunch of different projects in sustainable transport, like a bike project from a guy I met. Then we met Lorenzo, who we then had some beers on, talking about like.
And he's going to be part of starting Extinction Rebellion Rio, and helping that move along. He runs a blog and these kind of things. So there's a lot happening, and it's bubbling away. But there's definitely also this disconnect between the climate movement and the grassroots kind of movements in Rio and in Brazil, and that's a big part of hopefully what this blog will talk about over the next kind of 10 days, week into the next month, about how to start bridging that gap and involving all of the people who are fighting in the same fight, understanding that we're all in this kind of battle against the same system.
But yeah, that was really cool, and then we had to get up super early in the morning, so we went to bed at midnight. And
4:45.
Yeah, and we woke up at 4:45 because we were like flying from Rio to Altamira, and it was really, really, really long. But luckily everything went well. We're here. We got.
Yeah, and the planes here have way better service than the cross-Atlantic Norwegian Air. I don't know who likes Norwegian Air, but they didn't give us any water or any snacks or any food.
We had
no water on a 10.5-hour flight.
Yeah, I know.
The flights today, we got so many snacks. I got to watch live football. It was amazing.
Yeah, no, it's...
So, obviously flying is bad for the environment, but actually one of the things, and I talked about it in the first vlog, and we saw them today, we've got bags of seeds here in the base where the office is.
Yeah.
And on the first day of the project, we'll be going into one of the deforested areas and planting things.
Yeah, I think it would be interesting to do a whole thing on like reforestation, because it's also a tricky one.
Yeah, really, really tricky.
Yeah. So I mean, basically what we've been doing the most is getting here, getting to see the place, going for a swim in the river. We went to the ISA, Instituto Socioambiental, where we met some of the people that we're going to be getting to know much better later, and setting in the house. We had some like tapioca.
Yeah, tapioca, which I put up a picture of on the photo blog yesterday, which is a weird white powdery
I
thing.
keep laughing because the dog
Yeah, the
keeps
dog
coming.
keeps coming over. I'll put a boat. So we just went down the river, which is just here, and it's like a small river by the terms of the Amazon, but it's still absolutely huge, obviously. And we dived in, and it was super warm, which was weird.
God, so hot, yeah.
But I'll put some photos up, and the dogs came with us, and they're absolutely adorable.
Yeah, but excited for our first day tomorrow.
Really excited.
Unfortunately, we found out that some of the activists that we're gonna meet coming from Europe will not be able to come, like not arrive tomorrow, which is a shame because it would have been really nice to meet everyone.
Yeah, like Tiana, who's from Extinction Rebellion UK, absolute legend, and she missed her connection in Lisbon in Portugal because her flight from London
got delayed,
which obviously isn't her fault, but so she'll be here. She'll only be a day late now.
Yeah,
that kind of thing.
And the Fridays for Future crew who sailed here, I don't know where they are.
I think they're just a couple days late. Yeah. But everyone's arriving, and it's going to be amazing. There's going to be about 70 of us on the 10-day trip, and there'll be a big event in Altamira near the end, which hopefully will be about 500 people. So the opportunity to meet people will be amazing. We won't have that much internet during parts of it, but we'll try and keep things updated. I'll burn through my cellular data.
Yeah, I think it's important to share it.
And then the last thing, which we'll probably talk a lot more about in another video, but do you want to say about the Belamonte Dam quickly?
Yeah, sorry.
I think Ali's hungry again. We're meant to be going for food in a minute, and I forced Ali to sit down and make a video.
So this the Belamonte Dam. It's the third or fourth largest in the world. I'm not sure.
Apparently.
But it was built a couple of years back near the area, and it's one of the places that we're going to visit because it's this humongous dam, and it has completely changed the river, like drastically, completely changed it. It has affected thousands of people. There were evictions, and it's like they're telling us that the scars of that struggle are very much still alive today, with like a lot of the movements
and
having
the communities
conflict,
we're
the
gonna
communities ended up having fights with each other. I'm just feeling that sense a bit of defeat, you know, like a little bit.
Yeah, well, it's just it was the biggest project. Everyone was involved. The city's got 100,000 people in. A huge proportion of that were fighting against it happening.
And they still didn't win. So.
And they didn't win, and it was built. And it's really interesting because so much of what we advocate for in the European, especially in the Western green movement, is for renewable energy.
Yeah.
I studied renewable energy for 4 years, and it's really difficult conversation to have, and people don't want to have that difficult conversation when you're actually talking about the scale of infrastructure needed to use renewable energy to replace our current energy system, rather than going through a much more radical transformational process of degrowth and moving to a different way of living, especially with the natural world. And just to see, we'll do another video, a full video on it, because it's hugely, and we don't know very much about it yet. But just to understand, like, how painful that is for the local community, and it's something that, you know, will be shared around on Twitter and Instagram as like, oh my God, Brazil is now making 10% of its energy from this beautiful hydroelectric dam.
Exactly.
And people won't see the pain and the destruction behind it.
And I think something important, even with, let's say, solar panels. Everybody loves solar panels or wind turbines. But a while back, in one of the events that I was invited with London Mining Network, they've done a lot of work with communities in Chile, where they have one of the biggest, they have the biggest copper mine in the world. And BHP Billington's pretext is that it's doing it because of climate change, because they want to lead the way in like combating climate change, and you're gonna need all of these minerals for the solar panels and for
wind
the wind turbines.
Copper, the amount of copper used in wind turbine generators is unbelievable.
So they say that, but in the same, like with these huge mines, they're affecting the lives of thousands of communities, especially like most marginalized communities and indigenous communities, completely destroying and wrecking the environment, polluting the water. So, you know, like
Yeah, and especially when it's done not in a way that it comes from the community, but in a way where it's imposed upon the community by massive multinational corporations.
BHP Billington will make the most money out of this. They are basically going to replace like green energy and oil. They will not be any different. Right now we have oil as being like the big bad people because of the violations in human rights and all the destruction they do of the environment. But these very same companies are now wanting to, you know, switch to renewable energy and continue doing exactly the same thing.
Yeah.
So
with a huge amount of violence. I actually, I'm going to do a whole video, I think. I was thinking about it today and I'm being convinced now, on decolonizing renewable energy. I'm going to, when I get back to the UK, go back to my old department at uni and talk to lots of the lecturers and have a bit of a campaign about it. Because when I was there, we just learnt none of that. It was always, this country needs to put in this much, you know, power. This country needs to do this much. These are the graphs of where we need to go. And they don't talk about, the rare minerals coming out of, like, illegal Congolese mines. They don't talk about the copper in Chile and all these kind of things that need to be in the conversation.
A good thing to read is this report by London Mining Network, which is called a post-extractivist, like a just transition, and it talks basically about these things, like the just transition in energy and how that will have to be, because it's one of the biggest threats at the moment for a lot of these communities.
Yeah, I'll put a link in the video. But for now, with that ominous crack of thunder.
That's my belly rumbling.
That's Ali's belly, so we better go for dinner. Hopefully you've seen some of the lighting. I know the lightning. I know it's got dark, but I'll put up a load of photos from earlier, and I will have put through the video of what it's like here. It's utterly beautiful, and hopefully tomorrow we'll get up and take some photos.
You will see photos, I'm sure,
and it'll be gorgeous.
More videos that we're going to make.
But yeah,
and interviews.
Hope you've enjoyed this one. I think we've gone a little bit longer than usual.
Yes, again.
Oh no, not as long as the first one. We're kind of winning, but there was a lot to talk about because it was 2 exciting days.
Yeah.
We'll try. We're learning. Woohoo!
Yeah.
Anyway, thanks everyone who stuck around to the end. Make sure you're following the XR Youth Instagrams and socials, and as well as the International Solidarity ones. We'll be putting more stuff through there because we've got slightly less internet, so stories and images will be easier than videos. But for now, we'll sign off. Hasta luego. Ciao.